I'm going to make a quick video here on the ProAction skid from the earlier 2000 Yamaha snowmobiles. This is from specifically my 2002 Yamaha Viper, and the problem that happened with it was the W-arm cracked, which is pretty common. People think it's a terrible design on Yamaha's part and the engineers built this wrong, which isn't exactly the case. I think it could have been a little bit more reinforced and stronger from the factory, but I don't think that it's Yamaha's fault that this is cracking. I think it's a lack of maintenance when people complain about this. So I'll show you up close here. This one's been repaired. You can see there's a bunch of different spot welds on it. It goes in here. So that was cracked, that was cracked, that was cracked, that was cracked. The front side here, those were both cracked. This was cracked across the front. I've had them where, not on this sled, but a different sled, but this was like missing a chunk out of it, like it completely snapped off from this top tube here, and it's just missing a piece. And so the reason why they do this, in my opinion, is because lack of maintenance on the bushings. So there's a couple different bushings. There's bushings that go, so where it mounts, there's bushings. So it mounts right here, and there's bushings where it mounts. There's one on each side. So this goes in here like this. This is a little metal collar, is what Yamaha calls it. These get worn down over time just a little, but they're most likely fine as long as yours are in there. You shouldn't probably need to replace these. But it's more so the plastic bushings that are in here. And this is what the bushing looks like. You can see it just kind of slides right in there. There's one on each side. This one specifically is for the upper tube. This is from my other sled, but it goes in the top of the W arm. So you can see if you push this out, you should be able to pull the bushing out, and this bushing looks okay. Inspect them closely. This one, it's probably hard to see on camera, but it looks like it's a little thicker here than it is there. It looks like it's thinned out just a little bit there. So you have these bushings. There's a washer on those too, on each side of the top of the W arm, and then there's two bushings that go around that hold this collar in place. And so what happens over time is without replacing the bushings or keeping everything lubricated in here, this is what happens. This is from a different sled that I took apart. Here's what the bushing is supposed to look like. Here's what the bushing from this other sled that I pulled out looks like. You can see there's two issues with this bushing. Three. One, it's broken. Two, it has no grease on it. Three, it's just deteriorating. So you can see it got super thin. There's a couple of these little pieces of it that are just like paper thin in comparison to this. So over time, you know, your W arm is attached to your front shock. And so over time, the W arm, it moves. These bushings, they wear out. But without the bushings there, once they do wear out, what happens is this collar sits in here, and without the bushing, this collar is loose in this little, I guess, tube here. The bushing is the only thing that holds that collar in place. So without that bushing, this collar is able to rock back and forth in here, which causes the W arm to move like this, which it shouldn't do. It should only move up and down, but without the bushings, it rocks like this, which is why you get these cracks, because it's putting all this extra stress. Every time you hit a little bump, it's getting so much more stress on these little connection points. So that's the reason, in my opinion, why the W arms break. I think it's mostly due to lack of maintenance. But so the ones that do crack, I do usually add gussets in, and you can add the gussets in if you want before they crack, but usually I don't add the gussets unless they're already cracked, just because since they've been cracked, they're already not as strong as probably the original welds. So I do add gussets, and I put one here, one here, one here, and one here, and that's just to kind of help I guess, reinforce the welding that I had to do on the crack repair. So that's my quick little 2 cents on the ProAction skid, the causes of the W-arm cracking. I don't think it's like a manufacturer error. I think it's simply lack of maintenance.